All right, troops, strong and conditioned, live and direct from the Chateau de Burpees. And tonight, I had to bring him on again. He's such a great guy. It's the French natural bodybuilding phenomenon. A man with a body so sculpted that Michelangelo would have had trouble creating a statue in all this glory. It's the one and only Hersovyac, aka Axel. Axel, my friend, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Lee. How are you doing yourself?
Oh, all the better for talking to you, brother, as always. I'm having a nice day. What about
You
yourself?
improved your podcast voice.
Yes, my
Yes,
podcast
you
has
did.
improved big time. I've been investing in new equipment just to bring value to the listeners, and obviously bringing on guests like yourself. So Axel, the first thing I want to talk about is that I am under the impression that you have just released a book.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us about this book, Axel?
Mm, No, they search for it. Yeah, no problem. Well, it's basically a training guide ebook that I wrote, and it's about how to basically build your own program and how to train in a half body or upper lower, as they say, style. So it's basically a walkthrough to what you're supposed to do in a program, how to contextualize it, how to create it, what parameters are important, and then I put everything up at the end with several programs, about 20 of them. Some of my making. I also show how I train. I have my own program in the book, and I also show some training program of many legendary athletes. Some of them are totally unknown, I think, from the big audience, like Chuck Sipe or Van Weaver, that are fantastic American athletes, and I'm pretty sure none of them have been heard in a while. So yeah, it's basically like a little guide, to help people train, basically.
One thing that I think stands out with regards to the Noble Natty community in particular is that you really push the idea of programming for yourself. You
Yeah,
don't throw cookie cutter programs down people's throats. You encourage creativity in that respect.
totally.
Is that something that you follow yourself?
Yes, totally. The cookie cutter approach works. That's why it's cookie cutter. Like if I tell you do bench press, you will have some chest development and do pull ups for your back. Both of us, if you do that, we'll have some chest and some pull up. But depending of our own personal goal and maybe our shoulder or joint problem, maybe we will need to tweak that. Will it be barbell bench press? Will it be dumbbell bench press? Will it be pull-ups with a wide grip pronated like that? Or will it be neutral grip like that? This is not cookie cutter anymore. This is the individualization, and it's about both preferences and goal. And for myself, for example, I am very lucky right now to be in a spot where I can train in 3 or 4 gyms with a lot of different equipment. So when I want to train with a specific machine or a specific equipment, I can. And some people will be like, oh, but why do you do this machine, not this one? And the answer sometimes is not about, oh, this one is better or this and that. It's just that because I want to. I decided I was going to do 6 plate on X machine just because I want to. As long as it goes into the direction I want, no problem. But it's not cookie cutter at all. It's just me and the weight. And I want people to actually cut themselves some slack and realize that they are not 3 sets of X magical exercise away from their dream physique. It doesn't work like that. So this is something that I really hammered into the ebook. It's like everything can be contextualized and managed for you, and that's why I also have like a full page of like exercise substitution and like you can do this or you prefer that, no problem. That's why I did not even precise, like leg curl. You can do seated, standing, lying. You can do 1 leg, 2 legs. It can be the convergent machine. It can be, there are so many variations of leg curl, and I just wrote leg curl. You do whatever you want. So that's something I think that in the natural community, Paul Domniman is really adamant about talking about that. It's not about X magical exercise for arms, and it's not about X magical meals. It's just going hard and consistently and not hurting yourself, basically.
Do you think that the constant bombardment of cookie cutter programs prevents people from being more experimental in the gym?
I don't know, man. I think it's a double-edged sword, in a sense that when you have a cookie cutter program, there are some people that absolutely and even desperately need the guidance. So they will absolutely need a program. They will need someone to tell them, yes, it's good. No, it's bad. No, you need to do this. No, you need to do that this way, on this day, at this hour. And on the other side, there are some people that can't even follow a program and a structure because they just do whatever they want, basically. And then it's a question of, are you actually seeing result or no? Because if you want to be ultra strict and rigid with your mindset and your training program, fair, okay, if you prefer like that, no problem. But do you have result? You're optimizing everything. You're efficient with everything. Are you seeing result? If yes, keep going. If no, something's wrong. And same thing for the other guy, who doesn't follow any kind of structure. It's like, oh man, I wish I had this and that. Show me your program. Oh, what program? You need to have a certain program, to actually be consistent with several little things that can be frequently done for you to see result in that path, So I think it's just a pendulum, It's like we have had so many cookie cutter things for so many years, like you've been in the game for longer than me, and I've been at it for like 11 years, and I've seen so many cookie cutter programs. So I can't even imagine how much you saw yourself, right? And now it's like the over specialization. Everything needs to be specifically tailored. So it was on this hand of the pendulum, and then now we're here, while we should be right in the middle, So I think it's a problem without being a problem. It depends.
Okay. So in that respect, how would you chart out the progress of someone who is just getting into the iron game? What stages do you think that they should go through in order to develop a superb physique, so to speak?
Well, I always will be preaching the basics. And by basics, I mean the basic compound lifts, like bench press, squats, deadlift, chin-up, dips, overhead presses, barbell bent over row. And what I always say to beginners is that I want them to do this kind of movement, even if they will never, ever do them again in their entire life when they go to intermediate or even advanced stage, because these movements are not just about sheer size and strength. It's also about proprioception. It's about building your bone density. It's about building your resilience. It's about building coordination, the joints and everything. And it's also to go to a certain level of fitness, general fitness, of course, in more on the spectrum of strength and power, to then do whatever you want, okay? And it's always about go to intermediate level, do everything with full range of motion and with perfect form, and do not strain too hard and go to failure and do some weird shit. That's basically what I always say to beginner, It's like, if you are not 90% sure to do one rep, you do not do it. Re-rack. You're done. I don't care. You could have done it. Maybe not. If maybe not, we just saved your life because you do not know how to fail a lift. You do not know how to escape a bench press if you're stuck under the bar, and you do not know how to go down and escape the barbell if you're under like a squat, for example. And if you could have done it, it's you know what? Next week you will do it. You did not lose anything. That's always what I say to beginners. It's like you need your foundation, and your foundation is quite basics.
Yeah. So how would a beginner be able to take that on board when all the information nowadays in social media is training to failure?
Do you want the long or the short answer?
Long, mate.
Long answer. All right. So failure is a spectrum, because by failure we can say many things. For example, you're doing a deadlift and you're naked. You're doing deadlift. What will fail you first? Your back, your glutes, your hamstring, your quads, your core, your grip, your spine. It most likely will be the grip and or the core muscle, erector spinae and everything. So we use belts, we use straps to go and like basically go further than that to actually have more of a closer reach to the actual muscle we're trying to train. So most often the back muscle groups and the legs. But then form breakdown still happen. So what do? Do we still keep going with the form breakdown to achieve muscular failure on specific muscles? Or do we stop here and realize that failure is something that we can apply on some exercise, some motion, and for some others we can't? And then there is a postural failure. There is also the muscular failure. You're doing a movement and the muscle you wanted to target with X movement is done. But you can keep going by using other muscles as assistants. For example, you're doing lateral raises, you're strict, you're like that, and then you start to tire. So what you do? You do that. You do a bit of swing, or you maybe shrug a bit, or you flex the arm, and then there is the concentric failure. So it's like you're doing bench press, and concentric failure is when you cannot keep going and lift another concentric phase with a barbell. But then there is also the eccentric failure. So imagine someone is helping with the concentric, but letting you be with the eccentric when you lower down the barbell. At some point, even there, you will not be able to keep controlling the barbell, and you will fail. But that will be the total failure, like you cannot move anymore, okay? And all of the points I have just said, so 4 points, postural, muscular, concentric, and eccentric failure, are training to failure. So which one are we talking about? Which one are we trying to achieve? And also, are we even able to do that? Because personally, after 11 years of training, I have not been able to train to failure until very recently. Why? Because my context did not allow me to do so. I did not have the machines and the equipment to do that. If you use dumbbell and barbell, free weight, and you have no partner, you cannot go to failure, to true failure. You can only go to muscular failure. You cannot even go to concentric failure, because that means you would get stuck under the bar, right?
Yeah.
So training to failure, yes, no, maybe, it depends. Like if you're on a Smith machine, you tell me, I want to train to failure on Smith machine. Yeah, go ahead, kill yourself. you have no problem with that, it's Smith machine. But if you're with dumbbells, you're risking so much, with these last reps when you're like that, all grinding and, agitating yourself. Like you go just too further away from the normal path, and then boom, dumbbell on your face, or a snap with your shoulder or whatever joint, So training to failure depends, and it also depends of your own training experience. Some people are just more prone to go all out, and some people aren't. It has been reported by Arthur Jones and the Menser brother, for example, that Arnold Schwarzenegger did not know how to train hard, no matter how they tried and made him do some stuff when they were training together. When Wader sent him to the Arthur Jones Nautilus facility, it's like he had 3 or 4 reps left, apparently, and he just wouldn't do them. He would just do 5 sets instead of 1. But I have known people that if you make them choose between doing 5 by 10 or just 1 set, and then they're done, they will do 1 set. And even by instinct, sheer instinct, do you prefer to repeat the same thing for quite high volume, as we say, or do you just prefer to do one thing and then you're completely done, and that's that?
Yeah.
There are several nervous systems,
So do you would you suggest that the beginner has to take a more conservative approach?
Yes, because he absolutely needs to be conservative in order to build a good technique and to have his body gets used to what a good technique is.
Yeah.
And when you know what a good technique is, and you know how it feels inside your body, and also maybe potentially how it looks, if you film yourself or you have a mirror, then you not only are solid enough to maybe use some momentum, some cheating, some less optimal form, as we say, but you are also able to know what would be good and what will not be good,
Yeah. So when the basics have been mastered in that respect, and the trainee is moving on to the intermediate level, is this when you unleash them into the wild, so to speak?
Yeah. And that's why so many people get stuck in the wild for so many years, even their whole life sometimes. It's like you have this narrow path and everything works, and then
Yeah.
It was the tree hiding the forest. And now you're like, oh, hey, good luck. See you on the other side over there. Like.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point you make, because when you put it into context, the intermediate stage is the most difficult stage, and that is where most people get lost.
Yeah, it's often the bell. It's like a bell curve. Many things in life, and especially in training, is like the bell curve. You have the beginner, and it's like everything works. And then you have a bell curve. It's like, oh, do you have some studies and some stuff? I try this program with this tempo, the RPE, and it's not working. So this must be the variation of the intensity of the squat specialization program. And then you have the advanced guy, like the IAQ guys, and like, I do this because it feels good and I like it. And when it hurts, I stop doing it and I do something else. That's basically it.
So, what strategies would you suggest for the intermediate to become more focused in their training?
I think they need to be first honest with themselves, because many intermediate, I believe, and it also happened to me, that's why I think I can speak about it, is that be honest with yourself. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to be a bodybuilder, or are you trying to be a powerlifter? Because whatever TikTok or YouTube told you, no, it cannot be done at the same time. That does not work that way. So do you want to be strong? Do you want to bulk? Do you want to cut? Do you want to be a bodybuilder? Do you want to catch up X muscle? Do you want to get ultra strong on Y body part? Do you like a Z program? Be honest with yourself first, okay? And then when you have a goal, then you look at the context. Okay, do you have a good equipment gym? Do you have all the machines you want? Or do you have just barbell, dumbbell, benches, and some chalk? Or are you at home? Can you train often for a short period of time? Or can you train like just 2 or 3 or 4 times per week, but you can actually spend like a couple hours in the gym? Do you recover fast or not? Do you have some injuries? Do you have some lifts that are really, really bothering you? Like it's a grind each time you want to add just a rep or 5 pounds, 2.5 kilogram. And when you have all of this settled, then okay, we can start to build something.
So, what is at what point does the intermediate become advanced? What is the reference point for when that becomes apparent?
Well, first there is the strength. Like an advanced lifter, when you are whatever gym you are, whatever gym you are in the world, whatever the time, whatever the season, you are considered a strong guy. For example, a 3-plate bench press. That's commonly what is the checkpoint to say you are advanced on bench press. Can be a little less, can be a little more, depending on your bone structure, but yeah, 3-plate bench press. Each time you see a 3-plate bench press dude, you see someone who is very well developed physique-wise, and you see someone who is quite strong. How do I know that? Simple. When you see someone on Instagram bench pressing 3-plate, of course, there are many people in the comments that are going to say, yeah, easy, so weak. Why? Because on Instagram, you get to see the 1% elite of every possible thing. The most gorgeous woman, the most handsome guy, the strongest dude, the fastest guy, the most muscular guy. It's Instagram, so everything is like, it's a roller coaster. But in real life, when you see a guy with bench pressing 3-plate, whatever the gym, whatever the country, he's one of the strongest guys of the gym. Except if it's like a powerlifter specialized gym, So that's the first thing. When you are basically strong for everyone, you're most likely advanced. So like 3-plate bench press, 2-plate overhead press, 4-plate squat, 5-plate deadlift, whatever you are, whatever sport you do, if you do this, you're strong. And you are also at a point that's most often what happens with people is that when you are at this amount of strength, you have to be very precise with your training, because some stuff are going to take care of themselves and you do not even need to look at it. You just need to be patient and not get hurt. But some things, it's literally half an hour of sleep that can make a difference with that. Or like how you set up on the bench, or like what did you eat and drink 1 hour prior to training. And that's the difference between an advanced and intermediate. The advanced guy is stronger, and he realized that he's about to prioritize some things and you have to let some stuff behind. And that often the best strategy is to let everything that is just easygoing be, and actually focus extra hard on the things that just are a bit more of a struggle. whatever if we are talking about muscle or if we are talking about strength.
Yeah. How do the advanced guys keep the momentum going when at that point the gains seem so marginal?
I think it's just personal goals. Because when you're advanced, it's quite easy to maintain this advanced level. I know it sounds weird, but it's like you have trained and put in so much work into this that now your return of investment is very good. So you can train less frequently, less hard, but still maintain quite good amount of strength and muscle. And if for any reason you have just more time, you just woke up one day and you're like, you know what? I want a 5-plate squat. Now you know everything about your body and how to program by sheer experience for you to do this 5-plate squat. You know,
Yeah.
you know what knee is going to be a pain, and you know what type of rep are going to be a no, and you know what type of feeling when you are warming up is going to be, oh, that is a good day. I know I can push hard. You know that what variation is going to work, what variation is not going to work, and you know what type of exercise you need to do on the hamstring and on the calves and on the quads to make sure you're not hurting yourself and also getting stronger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like a virtuous cycle, you know.
Yeah. It's just the way I see things, and I always look at it like a role-playing game in some respects. When you begin a role-playing game, you go through the beginner phase and you start learning new skills, and your head starts getting turned, and then you start to advance into the game, and the skill tree opens right up, and the game becomes really fun to play. And then you become overpowered, and things start to get a little bit boring at that point.
Yeah.
So it always interests me with regards to how can someone keep their eye on the ball when they know they're at that point only, say, putting on grams on the bar or grams on their body.
I think it's just about, um, keeping the eyes far away, on the landscape. Because of
Yeah.
course, if you stop and you look at everyone behind and everything around, you're like, oh, I made it. But it's like for some stuff that you do not care, okay, you made it. For other stuff, you can just chip in a little bit, And if you want to do like pro stuff, you have to keep the eyes far away toward your goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's very personal. That's why I told you with the previous question is very personal. Like some people will just be content and be like, oh, you know what, I have other stuff going on in my life. I'm not going to focus that much on like strength training anymore. And some other people are like, you know what, I'd like really to have like 19 inches arm, just to say I have 19 inches arm. Like no real benefit. It's like for street curl competition or arm wrestling stuff, or even like I don't know, bench pressing competition. It's just like the guy woke up and he said, you know what, I want 19 inches arm, just to say I had 19 inches arm.
Yeah.
So
But every guy wants big arms, Axel. Every guy wants big. It's like it's built into our DNA.
Yeah, I think it's DNA.
Yeah.
It's like you do not want to watch the calves, but you want the arms. It's always like that.
So, Axel, how rigid are you with your own programming? Do you have any? Does any experimentation come into play when you go into the gym? Do you think sometimes that you try to be as less dogmatic as you can be when it comes to your own training programs?
I try. I was lucky in regard to bodybuilding because I am someone who loves routine. And I have no problem doing cuts and bulking. I mean, bulking, yeah, I have a problem. But for cutting, I have no problem because it's like I'm supposed to eat 200 grams of chicken and 200 grams of green beans. Okay. I'm hungry. I don't care. I have 200 grams of chicken and 200 grams of green beans. It's the routine. It's noon. This is what I'm going to eat. So I am very easily drawn into the dogma of the rigid structure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so curious and even autistic regarding training. So it's like there are these guys that are just doing whatever they want and they're much better than me in less amount of time. What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Yeah.
And I watch, and there is literally nothing. Nothing except the fact that they just do not stress and emotionally invest themselves as much. And so that's why it's been, especially since I came back in France, so like early 2021, I've had so many injuries, like little nagging stuff, but there was also my knee that had a surgery, that I basically for a full year trained around injury. It was not about training hard because I had this specific goal and I needed this and that. It was just because, you know what, I'm hurt, but I still want to go to train.
Yeah.
And I realized that I do not need to be 100% invested anymore. Things are going to take care of themselves naturally, just because I just show up in the gym. So currently, the training I filmed with a high quality camera that I'm currently editing, and there is already 2 training on my YouTube channel. This type of training, I have already switched little things, and modify some order or even add in or remove some exercise or replace them, just because now it seems like every 2 months I have to really assess and be like, okay, is it really helping or not? I'm at that point, basically. It's just like Alex of Alpha Destiny, Alexander Leonidas. I never ever comprehended and understood why in the past it was like, oh, I cycle variation every week and I have a 3-week rotation stuff. And like, what the? Why? Why do you do that? Now I understand. Because now every 2 months, I actually have to be like, yeah, I don't think it's working. I'm going to do this now.
Yeah.
For example, I was doing front squat. It had been 1.5 years. I could not do front squat because I think it was about the compressive force on the knee. It just felt weird on the knee that got a surgery. And now I could do them. So I went up to 130 kilogram, but each set would just take so much out of me. I was like, I need something to actually train my quads better, but I cannot just be so done after just one exercise. And then I train with a couple of friends. You maybe saw them on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts. So it's a tall guy, Luca Guif, and another guy who is looking Asian, Antoine.
Yeah.
And Luca is basically a very highly advanced bodybuilder from France. So he's me, but 5 years older.
Yeah.
And everything he did 5 years prior, I understand. And there's some stuff he does now, I don't understand. But I'm still doing them anyway, because I know one day I will just wake up and be like, oh, that's why he's doing that, And I did a leg day with him, and he just said, you know what? Forget about free weight squats. Because even if you know how to make it work, it's still not going to be better than Smith squat.
Yeah.
I said, okay, show me. Now I do Smith squat, and I'm doing 3 plates, full range of motion, and also I met thumb flat, so it's even like, oh, I got a squat. And my quads are getting better and better every week. It's still completely destroying me each set. I'm still questioning my life each time I'm going down, because each rep takes 3 business days to be done.
Yeah.
But I progress, and now it's not like front squat where each rep is literally like taking a part of my soul, Now it's like, oh, it's hard, it's going to suck, but I'm still going to do it anyway, So that's the first thing. It's like I'm much more reliant on exercise I know I can be stable upon to do things. And at the same time, I feel so heavy and so fat, in a sense, that I took up cardio again. I'm doing boxing again, and I'm doing jump rope again, because I just feel so heavy. It's like,
Yeah.
it's your dead weight,
You should start doing burpees, mate.
But what?
I said you should start doing burpees.
What is that? Do you eat it? I'm gonna try. You know what? I'm gonna try.
One day, mate. One day.
No, I'm gonna try. Okay, I'm gonna try.
And you should film it as well, mate. I need a laugh, as they say in Scotland.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do you use as like gauges to like measure your progress in the gym? Like, because like muscle's hard to quantify.
Well,
do you just go by weight on the bar?
Honestly, yeah. I know so many people will be saying, oh, no, but strength is not really correlated to muscle mass and blah, blah, blah. Hey, you know what? I have never seen someone who is doing 4 plates, high bar, ATG style squat who has puny quads.
Yeah.
I have seen plenty of guys who has puny quads when they do the same thing with low bar. That's true. But with high bar, not once.
Yeah.
And exercise like hack squat, RDL, weighted dips, machine rows. What else? Shoulder with the dumbbell, or instant push-ups with like full range of motion, like you're on steps.
Yeah.
This exercise, if you really do full range of motion and you really focus on progression of performance, there is just no way you are not going to gain muscle.
Yeah.
Because by essence, these exercises are putting a lot of mechanical loads on a specific muscle group or just two of them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they put them in a pretty stretched position. So you induce a lot of muscle damage. Of course, muscle damage is not necessarily correlated to muscle growth because too much damage is not good. But at the same time, just enough muscle damage is what it is needed to switch the protein synthesis switch, basically.
Yeah.
And when you progress and track this kind of exercise, you will see a progression with your physique as well.
Yeah.
There is just no escape, for the muscle, basically. It has to grow.
Yeah.
So I do that, and at the same time, I take measurement. For example, right now, I'm really determined because I have no knee problem anymore. I kind of understand now how far I can push in terms of volume and intensity. I really want to push my legs to, my quads, to something like 70 centimeters of diameter, so it would be, 27, 28 inches, I believe. And I would like my waist to keep the same size. Yeah. And I've been doing much more RDL with dumbbells and a lot more range of motion with barbell. And out of nowhere, I gained a lot of hamstring. Like it was immediate, like 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I saw a real pop in my hamstrings that I did not have before.
Yeah.
And I gained 2 centimeters on my waist size. Now it's 75, and before it was 73.
Yeah.
But you do not see it from the front. It's all erector in the back. Yeah. So my whole back changed, like my whole back just metamorphosis,
Yeah.
And how I go progress with that. If my waist size keep the same, but everything around it explode, I know I'm going in the right direction. Because if it would be the waist also growing a lot, it could potentially just be fat. Maybe subcutaneous fat, under the skin, but it could also be inside the guts, intravisceral fat, and you just can't see it,
Yeah.
So that's basically how I do it. The strength on several exercises, the performance tracking, and also the measurement, Like my arms now, they are 45 centimeters, and I just want 46 just to say I have 18 inches arm.
Yeah. How often do you measure yourself, Axel?
I'd say every month.
Yeah. And would you say that you notice like growth every month?
Okay. Come again?
Would you say that you notice that growth occurs on a monthly basis?
Not really, but depending of how I look, how I feel, like if I feel like I look jacked and I feel swole, and I look at the measurement and it's the same, that might sound weird, but I know I'm going in the right direction. Because each time I'm doing the right thing, first it looks like I'm getting denser and I have more definition on a specific area, and then it grows.
Yeah.
While if something is basically the same looking, or it looks deflated, or just flat, like your quads, they lose definition, for example, and they look like just one block, basically. Something is not going in the right direction, at least for me. I have found,
Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
So going by that method you utilize, what would you say are your most responsive body parts?
Right now, or in my whole right now?
Well, in general, but like right now.
In general, the whole back.
Yeah.
The whole back, traps, lats, erectors,
Yeah.
the glutes, anterior and lateral delt, the quads, especially the quad sweep, and the forearm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
what is funny about that is that these are the muscles I get soreness the easiest.
how often do you train your forearms?
Twice weekly,
Okay,
directly twice weekly.
and how do you like do just one exercise per session or two or three?
I will do one bicep. It's often reverse easy bar curl and wrist curl with a barbell, and I use fat grips. Most often
Yeah.
it's just that, but every 10 to 12 day I'll do a full body training, and it will be some weird stuff I saw some arm wrestler do that makes them really big with your arm. So it's like you have a towel and you loop it inside a plate. So I use a 10 kilo or a 15 kilo plate, and you go right there, with your it's mirror arm stack like that, and you
Yeah.
do this and you rotate like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
curl
Yeah.
at the same time. So you're doing the internal rotator, basically the pronator of the forearm, and you basically really emphasis the brachioradialis, and I do that. So yeah,
How long have you been training your forearms for?
about a year.
2 year. Because the reason I'm honing in on the forearms is because when I was like beginning my journey in lifting weights, the forearms were ultimately a no-go area for most guys because we were fed the information that it was purely genetics.
Yeah,
And the same goes for your calves as well.
yeah,
And that's one thing that blew my mind about the noble natty community was that they would almost smash against these ideas with a degree of common sense in the respect that at the end of the day, they are muscles. And if you work muscles with a degree of intent, they will respond accordingly. And
totally.
if you approach training the forearms and calves with that mindset, then you will get results, hopefully. Now, I know the calves are a bone of contention because I know there's guys out there who exercise their calves on a daily basis and nothing seems to happen. But it's more the mindset that interests me, that nothing can stand in your way if you attack it with
Yeah,
intent.
if there is a will, there is a way. If you really wanted it, you would do it. Forearms, I'm not really a good example. I really want to have a disclaimer here, because I did not directly train my forearm for years, and it was a strong point, meaning that people would look at me like, you have a nice forearm. And what do you do for them? I just do rows and pull-ups, And I'm not talking specifically just about the brachioradialis. I'm talking about the whole thing, And I think it's because of my past sport, especially combat sport, the fact that I really rarely use straps, and also the fact that genetics. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Because my dad also have some fucking gigantic forearm, not cartoonish, but they are huge, And
Yeah.
all he did, a part of a few years of lifting when he was quite young, But I don't think it even matters because he was just doing bench press and squats, I believe. All he did was just manual labor work,
Yeah. Yeah.
And my forearms were a certain size when I was doing push-pull legs and upper lowers and stuff like that. And when I went on to full body, just because my training were much longer, I went from 2 hours to 3 hours, just because it was longer and I was gripping weights longer, they grew, So that's how much I'm not a good example. But then I of course eat a wall. I cannot have gigantic forearms and be lightweight at the same time. So I have to gain weights. I have to get stronger, like on fat grip chin-ups and stuff like that. And I also have to start isolate them. So I did. And it's been a year and a half. And I rotate fat grips and I rotate stuff, to avoid overusing, etc. And you know what? I just measured them, like 2 hours ago. I was just curious, and when I really flex my arm like that, and I do this, they are 41 centimeters. And if I'm just extending my arm like that, like this, they are 38, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not a good example because I literally just do 8 sets per week of direct work, and I already have that, you know? I think someone else would have much more trouble and would need more time or much more focus, like doing them in the beginning of a workout or actually tweaking the whole training around it, you know, because I just do these sets and look. I mean, I cannot take credit for that. Like, I know it looks nice, but I cannot take credit for that. I'm just going hard at it, and then that's it. I just wait, you know.
Yeah. I'm actually ashamed to admit that I never actually started training my forearms until I discovered the natty noble community or noble natty community in that respect.
Very nice.
So you also mentioned your back being one of those areas that was highly fertile. What are the 3 exercises that you would consider that built your back?
In general, or like very specific exercise?
Whatever, just 3 exercises that you felt had the biggest impact on the size and width of your back.
Okay, so I'm going to go general because I know some people will be listening and be like, I'm going to do exactly what he said. And I do not want that. Chin up, barbell row, deadlift.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean chin up variation, rows variation, deadlift variation. Okay? And you found the one you prefer, the one that does not hurt bad, the one that hurts good, and then you go freaky strong on them. If I had to go into details, I'd say neutral grip chin up. It's not maybe the best, but I don't know. Each time I do not do it because I'm not in the correct gym and I just do pronated weighted pull-ups. My back does not look the same. And the moment I take them back again, it's like some pops and some definition in certain area arrive. For rows, I always prefer T-bar row to normal barbell bent over row. And I always prefer the X row to normal barbell bent over row. T-bar row is just so nice for me. Like even right now, sometimes I just do it and I can still 6 plate or 7 plate it, and I just do it once in a while. You know, it just feels so nice. You know. As for deadlift, block pull and rack pull just below the knee, and my best is 6 plate for 8 reps. And
It's funny that you bring up like 2 of those lifts are like sacrilege in some corners of the fitness community when it comes to growing muscle, and it's something that blows my mind because the bent over row is such an amazing exercise, but you get a lot of people that come in nowadays and they say, but it's not optimal. It's your lower back takes over, your hamstrings take over.
It's true. The case with barbell row is true. It's like, you're limited by your low back and your isometric strength with a posterior chain. It's totally true. But then it's like, so you're limited by this and we're trying to trace that. So we just ditch it totally. Many of these people, yet again, as we talked about in the first minutes, they do not need optimized training. They just need training. They do not need a special machine with a specific elbow angle, with a specific internal fucking cues or whatever the fuck they want. They just need to fucking train.
Yeah.
You know? But so if you look at that, and then you look at guys like Samir Bannout, Dorian Yates, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, Bob Paris, Lee Labrada, Mohamed Makawi, I can just go on and on and on. Look at them. Look at their back. Did they have some nice Nautilus or armor strength machines like me or us nowadays? No. All they had was bent over barbell row and T-bar row and dumbbell row. And what happened? What happened? You know, they got big. Exactly. So I can barbell bent over row pretty strictly 3 plates. So now my problem is, how can I put barbell bent over row in my training without destroying my low back that I absolutely need fresh for my hip hinge movement, such as deadlift variation? It's a huge tricky thing with me because I even have a small waist. So if I have a small waist, it's always more fragile. Even if I use a belt, even if I have strong muscle, it's always more fragile. It's about centimeters square physic low. Okay. So right now I'm not doing barbell bent over row. Regularly. Why? Because each time I do it, my lower back is so beat up afterward that I feel it for like 3-4 days, And each time I'm doing a barbell deadlift, I'm like, oof, that hurts, you know?
Yeah.
So at my level, with my current context, I don't really can make it work. But does that mean that I need to put it in the trash can? Definitely not. Because one day I will wake up and be like, you know what? I'm just tired to deadlift. I'm going to row 4 plates, strict. Or I'm going to go on the T-bar row and I'm going to put plates up to the end, and then I'm going to find a way to have an adaptator, like some gym pin, to add even more, and I'm going to row it strict, or just with a bit of momentum. It will be like 12 plates something. If I want to do that, I cannot deadlift heavy. Deadlift will become some kind of afterthought or accessory. So yet again, it's all about context and goals, you know. But barbell bent over row, I mean, it gets a bad rep, but it's one of the best exercises ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, because I like to look at it through a lens that even if it is hitting my lower back and hamstrings, that is not necessarily a bad thing, because it's putting the whole body under tremendous load, and the body should respond accordingly by having to adapt to that load.
Exactly.
I mean, I see it through the lens of optimal, in a sense, well, it's not hitting this muscle, and we want to hit this muscle, so we need to have the right exercise to hit this muscle. But sometimes you just need to put the body through a shocking process in order for it to overcome and adapt.
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to do barbell bent over row in your training, you have your back training or like your back focus training, you do barbell bent over row, then you do all the machines you want to finish the upper back muscle and lats, okay? And on the leg day, you are going to be much more careful with hip hinge. You may not even do hip hinge altogether, and you will just do like squat variation and quad stuff, and you will do a lot of leg curls, and you will do some back extension or good morning, and that's it, and it's still going to work.
Yeah. Right, so another question I wanted to ask you was, who would you consider to be, and you don't have to name one person, you could name a few here, but who do you consider to be the big influences on you with regards to how you approach programming?
I think Dorian Yates. I've been exposed to Dorian Yates very early when I began. I did his body part split training. The first training I did was inspired by him. It was like on a French forum with a website interface, you know, and they had like a lot of articles about many things. And they talked about Dorian Yates and how he was well structured and thought of everything with his training program. And I basically did a variation of that. Like I think it was shoulder triceps, back abs, pec biceps, leg abs, something like that. And of course, then I went into the old school stuff, Steve Reeves, Rich Park, Jack LaLanne, then the Vince Gironda stuff, the old school Golden Era stuff, and then I went with the other things, you know, like the more modern bodybuilding approach with much more machines, reverse band, stuff like that, with much more biomechanical applied stuff, the real thing, not the thing of so-called experts on Instagram. And then at some point, I just stumbled upon again Dorian Yates, and I'm like, but his training is just genius. The guy is using everything he has at disposal for every specific goal and every specific muscle tension length ratio.
Yeah.
For everything he has to do with his current goals, which is, of course, to be Mr. Olympia. So the goal is simple, get as big as possible, but still, you know. And I think that this approach, because if we put this in my context, I'm just a guy who can go on internet and read about all of that. And Dorian Yates has a YouTube channel and an Instagram, and it's free for everyone. And all you have to do is actually just 3 clicks and read. That's it. Yeah. But at this time, Dorian Yates came at a period where everyone was doing 40 subs per body part. And if you were not doing that, you were a pussy. And he came, he's like, no, 6 sets. 6 sets. And you know what? 3 sets. Of course, he's meeting with Mike Menser at Gold Gym at the time. It helps. Of course, I'm pretty sure it helped. But at the same time, it was also because Dorian Yates from the start was thinking. He was not like a brain-dead guy. Yeah. Maybe he was huge and maybe he was a meathead, but he was a very, very smart meathead. And I try to be like that sometimes, too, most of the time. I tried. It's like, I'm thinking, it's like, can I make it better without falling in the pitfall of optimize things? It's not about just optimizing. It's like, is it going to be better or not? And sometimes better is the enemy of good. So I prefer to aim for good instead of perfect, And yeah, that's like his whole philosophy really, really inspired me on that side.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anyone else that you would consider to have also been an influence?
On training,
Yeah, or just the way you program your workouts?
Steve Reeves,
Steve Reeves, and
he was so
why?
handsome. He was just so handsome, bro. And it's kind of the same thing. He had some luck. He was with Head Yarik, and Head Yarik was an inventor of many things, and he was a person that knew a lot of guys that invented a lot of exercise. So Steve Reeves, I think very early on, also had that mindset of like, if everyone is doing something and it's not working for you, it's okay, and you can go and find out what will work for you. And so incline bench press, incline curl, hack squat by using your belt and putting the barbell on top of that to kind of stabilize it, and then doing hack squats.
Yeah,
These type of things, what is the donkey calf raiser, stuff like that. All of that is Steve Reeves. And why did he do it? Because he tried bench press, squat, deadlift, etc. And he's like, yeah, it's not working for me. And same thing for the seated cable row. It's not that he really invented it, but he popularized it because he was doing it in a way that was so uncanny for many people, even today. Today, if you're doing your row with a straight back, you're doing it right. And if you're doing your rows with a rounded back, ego lifting, you're gonna get hurt, you're bad. No, it's the upper back who is relaxed. The lumbar spine is not moving. And Steve Reeves was basically doing a row. He was like that, crouch, and he was rolling to his navel. But the movement was just this. No shoulder blade movement. So he was just using 40 kilogram, 50 kilogram, easy weight.
yeah,
And his lat blew up. And people were like, but how is he making it work? Well, he's making himself go in a very peculiar position that really stretch and stress the lat, and he's not using at all any other muscle, just the lat. And trust me, I done it, I tried it, and 50 kilo is more than enough. So, I try to keep an open mind for these kind of things.
yeah, yeah. So I personally have been reading a lot of Jamie Lewis lately, and in one of Jamie Lewis's workout, Plague of Strength.
Oh, Jamie Lewis. Okay, yeah.
Jamie, sorry, the Scottish accent was reading
I heard Jimmy. That's why I was like, what
Jimmy Lewis. No, Jamie
Jamie.
Lewis. James Lewis.
I followed him since 2013.
Yeah, I love Jamie Lewis's stuff. Jamie's a very divisive character, but I think that's his redeeming quality.
Get him on the podcast.
We'll talk about that.
I can ask for you if you want. Get him on the podcast.
So, and one of the things that I thought was amazing when I read that Jamie Lewis program recently was he had a day called the Dealer's Choice. And the dealer's choice was when you go into the gym and do whatever you want for 90 minutes. What is your dealer's choice, Axel?
I think it's just my full body that I do every 10 to 12 days. Because there is literally no use for me to do that, except the fact that I go to the gym and I'm like, I can still do a full body and I can still go train for 2.5 hours up to 3 hours hard and go home alive. So alive, That's it. So I think it's really my 3 days that it's just going to the gym. I do a lot of machines. There is a row machine. It's a Gym 80 brand. It's German. I really like it. And I do like 6 sets of rows on that. I could do less. I could do more, but I would just want to say 6 because it's like 3 of this, 3 of that, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
There is a machine I like to do my triceps and my chest, and I cannot put it anywhere else. So I'm just going to do it here. And there is a Bulgarian split squat where I have a love-hate relationship with. I do them in the Smith machine, and I just can't do them before heavy squats, because then the squats are not heavy, or before deadlift, because then again, it's like I'm going to pass out. So I just put them on my full body. And I had a goal, which was to do 3 plates 4 reps. I mean, on the Smith, it's not really 3 plates. It's a bit late. It's 130 kilogram. And last time I did my full body, I did 6 reps. So I was happy.
Yeah.
And then there is a hip thrust machine, and I just put every plate I can on it. So it's like 270 kilo, so like 600 pounds, something like that. And I just do 2 sets of 15 reps with tempo, just because I can. That's my free day.
Yeah. So every day is a dealer's choice for you, Axel.
Kinda.
Well, that's obviously a degree of influence through Jamie Lewis in that respect, because his programming is very experimental. It isn't locked in. It's very much like the Noble Natty community in the sense that it encourages you to think for yourself and just get in the gym, and just as long as the intent and the effort is there, then you are going to have a really productive workout.
Totally.
So I've got one last question for you, Axel. This is something I've always wanted to ask a member of the Noble Natty community, and it goes back to what you said a few moments ago with the fact that you started bringing cardio into your workouts, which interested me straight away and shocked me as well. One thing that I've always had stuck in my head with the natural bodybuilding community is that they talk about how natural bodybuilding has a degree of purity to it, and it's all about building the best body you can. However, no one ever seems to talk about the conditioning aspect that should run alongside a bodybuilding program in some respects, because, like, just a personal opinion, if you can have a great car which looks beautiful, a Ferrari, but if it's got a 1 litre engine inside it, it's going to move like shit at some point. So why is there no element of conditioning brought into the Noble Natty community if it talks about creating the best body that they can?
That's a great question. It's just that you're making me think, but it's a great question. I'm not upset. Everything's fine. It's just that it's a great question. I think it's just comes down to the fact that it is extremely not sexy and uncomfortable. For the same reason that you see no one today do 20 rep squats or more, like Dan Jones preached. You know, it's not just about the muscle you will gain from it, which is already quite a good deal. It's about mental fortitude. You already know it's going to suck. It's been 5 reps and it's already starting to hurt. And then you go at 10 and you just want to stop and you're like, oh fuck, I just did half. I have 10 more reps to go. What the fuck? You know? And I think cardio is the same, because if we talk about low intensity cardio, I think it's just laziness. Because just going outside and walking your dog for an hour, you do that very easily. It's just that it takes time and you actually have to go outside. You know, it's just like the 10,000 steps a day. You just need to walk 1 hour, you're going to do them.
But walking that dog's not. But sorry to interrupt. My dog's going wild here. Sorry to interrupt, but that's not going to build a big engine. Like, I'm talking about building a powerful engine.
Yeah, I was going to that. Yeah. So when you're talking about like the type 2 zone 2 cardio, like HIIT, stuff like that, when you can really sustain for quite a long duration, it's extremely taxing on the body and on the mind.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to do combat sport and to do sprints. And the least painful sprint you could do to do that would be on the assault bike. But hill sprints and bike sprint are going to hurt you and are going to really make you feel bad, even if it's very short. It's going to be 60 minutes of hell. And I think that just some people nowadays are just too much of a snowflake, or are too afraid of this to hurt their gains to do it. As for combat sport, there is the injury aspect. And the injury aspect is of course, very important when you're a competitive bodybuilder. But if you're just someone with a regular gym rat and you just want to train pretty regularly, except if you are in a maniac combat sport club where people are not holding back, you should not worry about it.
Yeah.
And at worst, you can just go and hit the bag with intervals and you'll be fine. You know, I just think it's because it's not sexy and it's really hurtful.
Yeah. I mean, I could understand that if you were competing and you need to retain as much muscle as possible and your focus is on like winning a competition. But to be honest, most of the community are not in
It's not
any.
competing.
They're not going
Never
to.
will.
They never will.
And never will be. Yeah.
So it's just, I think there's a gap in the market in that respect with the noble natty community. And obviously, something has to be implemented that is sexy, that does catch their eye, and ultimately shows results.
Yeah, I'm going to film about the boxing and also the sprints. I know there is a stadium where I can go with my friend who have a very nice camera and film. I just need to be conditioned again. I would like to avoid hamstring strain or tendinitis, which I already had with my right hamstring. But that's something I really want to bring in the public. It's like you can actually do some stuff with your bodybuilder body, you know, not just weights. You can move.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think I listened to a lot of Joe DeFranco's podcast, and he's actually speaking out against sprinting regularly now. When his page or his business was built on sprinting at one point, because he claims that it's too hard for most people. It's unless you have pristine technique, then sprinting should ultimately be avoided.
That's why you're actually starting slow, building up, and also practicing on treadmill, which is way less stressful than real tracks or even ground. And you can do it in the grass, which again is way less stressful than like a concrete. And you just build it up. But then again, that's why so many people are stuck into the intermittent cycle, because if we take the example of sprints, there are guys like Jamie Lewis that are going to come and be like, you know what, today I'm going to do 6 by 30 seconds. Why? Because I just want to. Why do you ask? Let me be. And there are other guys that are going to be like, oh, I need to do 8 by 12 seconds with 48 second rest. And I need to be at around 90% of my maximum speed with big stride, because big stride are good for the hip torque muscle to go. Just run, man.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good example to polarize what you talked about early in the podcast. It's like you cannot just hold hand with people in regard to sprints. It's very individual. You know, we do not have the same pelvic bone. We do not have the same femur angle. We do not have the same knee stuff. You know, so it's about how you run, how you can improve your running technique, and how you can manage it in a strength training program.
Yeah.
But it's not hard. It's just it's not easy, but it's not hard. No.
Yeah. Oh well, that was another clinic by Axel. Love it, mate. I love it. So Axel, before we head off into pastures far and green, could you tell everyone who is listening where they can find you, and can you also tell them the name of your book and where they can find it, which I will also put in the link in the description?
Yeah, sure, man. So they can find me on social media at Hersovyac. I have a website, I have social media, just type Hersovyac, I'm basically everywhere. And as for my ebook, it is available on my website, and only my website for now. So you hersovyac.com, ebook, and it will be just there in the subsection. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Lee.
Absolute pleasure, mate. I like it. I love it. Listen, before once I stop recording, stay on because I need to speak to you for a minute, mate.
Okay.
Right? It was an absolute pleasure, mate. Take care.
Take care, man.